What's up? Welcome in, Hoge and Jahns with you, and a little bit of breaking news on this Tuesday night as we record what will otherwise be a preview of Thursday's Hall of Fame game as well. But DJ Moore getting a huge extension tonight. Johnsy, did you see this one coming?
Yes. I thought this would take a little bit longer, but you never know how quickly things come to fruition. Drew Rosenhaus was at Hallis Hall today. Today's Tuesday, right? I'm losing track of my days.
Yep.
He was there today, so obviously they're able to sit at the table and get things done today.
Yeah, and I saw someone wearing a Rosenhaus shirt yesterday in the media room too. So I don't know if they just kind of been around last couple of days expecting this on their end too. So nonetheless, it is a done deal. It's $110 million, $82 million guaranteed, a 4-year extension tacked on to the 2 years that already remained on his deal. That makes him a Bear, potentially, Johnsy, into Caleb Williams' second contract.
There you go. There you go. Thank you, Carolina Panthers. Is Ryan Poles going to send them like a gift basket or something? That is your starting quarterback and your number one wide receiver that you should be thankful for.
Yeah.
To be thankful for.
Right. Along with everything else too. Darnell Wright, Torrey Taylor. And at this point, I'm losing track of all the pieces of that trade, but it's got the potential to go down as not only the greatest trade in Bears history, but potentially Chicago sports history. And that all rides on what happens with the quarterback. And if Caleb Williams becomes what everyone's hoping and expecting him to be, it's going to go down as an absolute all-timer. But this being a huge piece of it, already a success, obviously, with DJ Moore, what he's been for the Bears, and now getting this extension. And honestly, Johns, you can make a very strong argument that this is a very valuable deal for the Bears. This is the biggest contract they've ever given out in franchise history. So that's a lot. But at the same time, I mean, this is just from the release the Bears put out tonight. Over DJ Moore's first 6 NFL seasons, his 6,565 receiving yards are the most among all players who have entered the league since 2018. And his 4 seasons of at least 1,000 receiving yards also lead all offensive players who have entered the NFL since 2018. So we're talking about one of the most productive players that's entered the league since 2018. And it's not like this is a cheap contract, but it's not the top of the market. Justin Jefferson just got 4 years, $140 million. So it's, by comparison, advantageous for the Bears to get this done when they did. And if you're DJ Moore, who's been an absolute no drama type of player, and has been out there working hard every single day, had a great catch from Caleb Williams today, he gets his deal and his money early.
The one thing I thought, like almost initially, is just how much DJ Moore wants to be here. 6 years. You're talking about that's it for his career, possibly, right? Like that is, he's already in the league 6 years, has produced with multiple quarterbacks. He believes in Caleb Williams, and he wants to be a Bear. Like he wants to finish things with Chicago Bears, and to me that just feels notable about the direction of this team, because DJ Moore, he could go anywhere and be a number one wide receiver. He's a top 10 wide receiver in the NFL in my book. He's that good. He's that much of a team first player too. We saw him just endear himself to this team, front office too. So, like, my initial reaction was he loves it here. For all the things, for all the turmoil that once existed with the Justin Fields decision, like, it's gone. He must believe in Caleb Williams. He must believe in the direction that Ryan Poles is taking his franchise.
Yeah, because he could have played this thing out. I mean, we could have seen him put up big numbers the next 2 years, or just this year, and then hold out next year and request a trade. try to force the hand, become the, highest paid receiver and not really care about, if he ends up somewhere else as a result of all that. There's plenty of other players in the league that go down that route. And I don't have a problem with that route. I mean, a lot of guys end up getting paid a lot of money going that way. I mean, get your money. There's no problem. But obviously, DJ Moore, especially when you consider the wide receiver position, and it's the position where you have a lot of so-called divas, a lot of guys that can cause some drama. They want the ball. They get upset when they don't get the ball. And that's sort of part of the position, and everybody understands it. And DJ Moore's just the type of guy that seems to show up, just put his work in. Matt Eberflus called him the hardest working player on the team back in the spring. And he just kind of proves it on the field and is getting rewarded for that at the same time.
Because his own history says that he would produce regardless of the quarterback he's playing with. So if he wanted to test the market, wanted to reset the market, you could see that happening a couple of years from now, especially if things worked out with Caleb Williams. But again, he must really believe in what's being built here. To be locked in for 6 years. 6 years. It's a long time in an NFL career.
Yeah.
It's a long time. What's the average NFL career? 3.5?
It's like 3.5 something. Yeah, so it's already almost double that. And he's already been in the league for 6.
That's what I mean. 12 years. Yeah. Half of it with the Chicago Bears. More than half.
Yeah, no, it's good for him, and I think it speaks to when you kind of put it big picture, just more about Ryan Poles' plan and what he's trying to put together here for a long term. You got to pick your spots. There's going to come a time, and everybody involved in this knows this, that if Caleb Williams, they hit on Caleb, he's going to be very, 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 very expensive 4 years down the road. And so part of that is planning what that all looks like. And there's so much roster turnover every year.
It's such like an intense projection too.
Yeah.
Just because look at the quarterback contracts that we've seen. Tua, right. Jordan Love, the number for Caleb Williams, if things just go well. Forget you know what I'm talking about. Just if he's like your starter for 4 years and his play is just solid, not exceptional, just solid.
Well, DJ Moore's already made his second contract look like a bargain for the team that's paying him, that being the Bears right now. And so, that's part of the motivation for getting this new contract done. However, if all this hits, like you're saying, John's, like this third contract's probably going to look like a bargain comparative to some of these other deals out there. Maybe there'll come a time where they got to fix that and remedy that too. Who knows? But, I think that from the Bears standpoint, and you're Ryan Poles, and the only thing you can do right now is operate on the assumption that the guy you just drafted number 1 overall is going to hit. Well, you got to start looking big picture and how to make this thing work down the road. And so what do you have for knowns? Well, at that position, you have a lot of unknowns. You don't know Rome Odunze is going to be great. I mean, you hope he is, but you don't know that for sure. It's way too early. Keenan Allen, whether he's here beyond this year or not, he's not going to be here in 4 years. No chance, right? Like where he's at in his career. So DJ Moore is the one sort of constant that A is not a problem. B is extremely productive, fits everything you're trying to build here, is still young enough to give another contract to. And so when you lay it all like that out, it seems like a no-brainer to get this thing done.
Who do you think is next? Should there be anybody next?
That's a good question because, I mean,
Cole Kmet's locked in.
Cole Kmet's are you just talking offense right now?
Jalen Johnson's locked in.
Mm-hmm. I mean, there's no rush with those young DBs right now.
Montez Sweat has his deal already.
Yeah, I mean, I think the obvious ones on offense are, do you consider Keenan Allen a short-term extension? I still think on that one, everything we've seen so far, we already know about Keenan Allen. Consummate professional, always open. The question is his health. Can he get through a full season? You're not going to get that answer until the season starts, game played out. And then there's Tevin Jenkins. And we've kind of heard his side of it, which is that they don't want to talk about it until Well, he says the Bears don't want to talk about it until the bye week. So he's got to kind of prove some things here. But I could see that getting done if he gets out to a really strong start to the season and stays healthy, playing every snap.
And then down the road, if you're really going to project it a little bit, you have Jaquan Brisker,
Mm-hmm.
Kyler Gordon.
Yep.
They're in their third seasons.
One, you got this wouldn't be a massive extension, but you got to start talking about it by the end of this season. Is Jack Sanborn, because he was an undrafted free agent, so he's going to end up being like a restricted free agent.
So he's in his
offseason.
contract year.
Yeah,
but Brisker and Gordon are entering year 3 of their 4-year rookie contracts.
4, yeah. Yeah, I mean, otherwise going down the list, obviously, Jervon Dexter, you're far away from that. Cairo Santos just got re-upped, right?
He did.
Yeah, so that's another one. That's everybody.
Braxton Jones would be in the same boat
as
Brisker and Gordon, but I think it's a more difficult conversation considering that the Bears, they have a first-round pick and 2 second-round picks next year, where you're looking at premium position additions.
I mean, I'll give you one, even though I think we know where they stand, and that's Khalil Herbert, because they just paid DeAndre Swift, so you're not going to pay his second running back big money. That's probably just going to play out the year and then see where that goes. And I mean, Gerald Everett, you just signed. Mercedes Lewis, you just brought in. I mean, really, that's among players on the roster. That's pretty much it. So,
Keenan Allen will be an interesting one. 32 years old, health concerns, but an amazing locker room presence. Still an amazing player. His route running. We heard about it coming into, like, after his acquisition, right? Coming into camp. He can still play. Man, can he still play. So, interesting, especially when you hold it into context of Caleb's contract. Like, for Keenan Allen, I would try to do like a 1-2 year deal within that rookie contract window of Caleb Williams.
Yeah. And I think that's all the Bears would probably consider at this point. So we'll have to see where that goes. So not a lot of other candidates here, but for the second straight year, the Bears get a big contract done towards the start of training camp. Last year it was Cole Kmet, right as training camp began. This one goes a week or so into camp with DJ Moore, but Ryan Poles continues to build this thing little by little. And hopefully the results start to turn around from the wins and losses going into this season. Now, first preseason game coming as we record this 48 hours from now. The game will be ongoing. We're recording this on Tuesday night. We found out today, Johns, and the not surprising news, kind of what we expected, that the starters will not play. Typically, teams that play in this Hall of Fame game do not play their starters, and it's really just a disappointment for the fans, I guess, that want to see Caleb Williams, and we get it. They want to see him in a Bears uniform on a field, even if it's just a few handoffs, just to see it on national television on Thursday night. That would have been fun, but I also understand why it's not happening.
So I appreciated your question today a little bit, because the most, at least the reactions that I saw, is there was some anger towards it.
Yeah. And that's all rooted.
I don't. Some of it's mind-boggling to me a little bit, because what did you expect?
So to be honest, and I actually have this in my, I had already written tomorrow's newsletter, Bears Things newsletter, before the DJ Moore deal got done. So my newsletter tomorrow will not be about DJ Moore, although plenty of coverage around it. Our Nicholas Moriano will have stuff on it for CHGO. I know you and Kevin and the Athletic crew already have it on theathletic.com/Hoge Jahns. But honestly, John, so I mean, that question was rooted in a few different things. Obviously, I understand why fans are like, I want to see Caleb this week. Like, just take the field in Canton, the nostalgia about it, hand the ball off 3 times, move. I think that's fine. And honestly, if the Bears want to do that, I would have had no problem with it too. To me, though, the bigger question becomes, do they play Caleb Williams against the Cincinnati Bengals on August 17th? And there's a couple reasons why I'm more concerned about that game than the Bills game, which is the next preseason game. Then it's the Bengals. But last year, we saw they had 2 practices against the Colts, and they decided not to play their starters in the game. And what that left was 13 snaps for Justin Fields and the starters in the final preseason game. And over the course of a 29-day period, Justin Fields and the starters played 13 game snaps. In the same time period that you start to ramp down practices, you have fewer padded practices. Training camp practices are not as intense the further you get into August. And they came out and they didn't look ready to go in week 1. So you have another joint practice this year against the Bengals. Do you make that same decision to sit them because you had a joint practice? We heard Flus say last year, these are in some ways more valuable than the game reps because you can kind of script it better to what you want to do.
As valuable, good on good players.
There you go. However, and this is where my question's rooted, when I asked Flus today about weighing what the fans want versus what you feel like is better for your team to win games come fall, that's your only home game. It's your only opportunity in the preseason at Soldier Field to put Caleb Williams out there in front of your fans and have him run out that tunnel in the preseason. So if you don't put him out there then, everybody's waiting until week 1. So that's where it's like, and I'm not trying to make some type of argument that Flus should necessarily be worried about all that.
I don't even think he's thinking about that.
But it is a thing.
It's a thing for us. I don't think it's a thing for them.
Well, that's why I asked the question. That's why I asked the question.
I think he plays, Caleb Williams I'm talking about, plays into the second quarter against the Bills.
Okay.
2 possessions, 3 possessions, mid-second quarter, maybe if he's moving the ball well, finishes it, just depending on how the game's being played. Maybe 20-something snaps.
Look, I get there's teams and there's players out there that nobody plays and they show up and they're fine.
Like, that's my own, but I understand it. This is a team that's almost built to win now. I say almost because it's the quarterback position that's the question mark, but that quarterback just happens to be the first overall pick. An immensely talented player in Caleb Williams. He who himself wants to play in the preseason, knowing how valuable reps are.
Well, in our experience covering this team has been, at least in recent years, when they don't play their starters, they look unprepared at the start of the season.
Well, I think that's part of the, what's the best way to describe this?
How crappy the teams have been?
Like Nagy's idea to sit the starters like the entire preseason.
Yes.
Bad idea.
Right. But that's what I'm getting at. And what I'm getting at exactly is actually it's more so the layoff before the first game. My overall point is I think it's actually more important for them to play those last 2 preseason games than it is to play in Canton this week. I think that layoff has hurt them. When you're going almost a month with almost no real action at the same time that the training camp practices are getting easier and easier, you're not ready for real football week 1.
All right, let me give you a scenario. Caleb Williams plays 20-something snaps into the second quarter against the Bills.
Okay.
Against the Bengals, he comes out for the first quarter. Like after, like that's only a day separation from the joint practice. But he only plays the first quarter, say 15 snaps. Then he gets 1 series against the Chiefs. Just 1.
That puts you around 50 for the preseason.
But I'm sure Eberflus will tell you that work against the Bengals was great.
Yeah.
That was 30-something reps against the Bengals starters.
Better not come out and lose to the Titans in week 1 and look unprepared. That's all I'm saying. I mean, because that's ultimately what matters. And I just think that's a tough sell. You got a
You don't
rookie
think that would be
quarterback.
enough? Like, if he's not prepared in that much, then he's just not gonna be prepared at all. I think. You're not expecting him to play, like, full preseason games, are you?
Yeah. Well, no, I'm not. But and it's also isn't just about the quarterback. I mean,
Exactly.
they looked unprepared as a team. I mean, that defense was turned out to be a good defense last year. It looked awful in the first month of the season. So, it's the whole team. I just again, I want to be clear. I have no problem with the stars sitting this week. It's a bonus game. The more important part of playing in the Hall of Fame game is the extra week of practices you get. And by the way, they're still practicing tomorrow.
And I would say today was actually quite physical. There were some
Yeah.
some real tackles out there, even though I don't think they were supposed to be. Even Caleb Williams was put on the dirt.
All right. Well, there is a game Thursday. Let's talk about some of the things we will be looking for in the game. Since we have been talking about the quarterback position, let's start with Tyson Bagent. Tyson Bagent will start. Tyson Bagent is somebody that I like as the Bears backup. I think the Bears like him as the Bears backup. I thought he got off to a pretty good, decent start to training camp. But I would also like to say, if we're being honest, since Friday, he's been shaky at best. And I'm not trying to start any type of backup quarterback controversy here at all, but there have been moments the last few days where I've been like,
I thought it looked pretty good today.
What about when he was trying to throw the ball in that bucket and he couldn't hit it?
I'm not worried about that. Seriously? How about him dropping the ball in the bucket to Colin Johnson down the right sideline
That
for
was
a huge gain?
That was a good one. There have been other misses though. His accuracy has been shaky since Friday.
You can't critique the guy in the bucket in the corner drill.
I'm going off.
Wasn't Nathan Peterman awesome at that?
No, I don't know. I don't care. I'm going off of other things to it, not just that. And yeah, I mean that's just my opinion. I don't think he's been very good since Friday. I don't think we're at PJ Walker levels of concern, but what I am saying is he's the quarterback starting in the game Thursday. So I'm going to base, I'm not trying to base this off throwing the bucket in the practice. What I am trying to say is we talk about this game Thursday. I think the game matters for him. I want to see what he looks like.
I would give him the entire first half. I would give Brett Rippon the third quarter and Austin Reed the fourth quarter.
Yeah. Okay.
That would be my game plan. Because again, I am taking snaps away from Tyson Bagent come the Buffalo game. And he may get the entire second and third quarter for me in the preseason finale, but the Buffalo game, I would even give Caleb Williams the whole first half maybe against Buffalo. But so for this game, yes, Tyson Bagent is a player to watch.
Again, to be clear, I like Tyson Bagent, and I'm just saying it's been a little bit of a down here the last few days.
Damn it, throw that ball in the bucket.
Wait, it's not even a bucket. What do we call that thing? It's like a giant net contraption.
Yeah.
I don't know what they call it. I'll never forget last year when they were trying to make that throw into that thing from like 40 yards, and none of the quarterbacks hit it. And then Andrew Janocka, the quarterback's coach, had one throw and put it right in there.
Exactly.
Well, exactly. The Bears had a quarterback problem.
I know, but let's not go crazy over the bucket drill, which I feel like the Bears just did at whim because all the fans were there in the corner.
Yeah, I think so too. They were putting on a show there for a little bit. That was probably the most excited the fans were all day. Here's perhaps a more important question. Do you think starters not playing? Does that include Khalil Herbert? Does Khalil Herbert play in this game? How much does he play? Here's why I asked the question, Johns. Bears are a little bit banged up at running back. So if we're going to count DeAndre Swift as a starter who's not playing, Travis Homer is hurt. Rookie Ian Wheeler is hurt. They signed Demetric Felton. I don't know how much Kari Blasingame is going to play. That leaves you with Roschon Johnson, Khalil Herbert, and Demetric Felton, basically.
See, I think reporters will have answers tomorrow at practice when they split them up.
Yeah.
What field Khalil Herbert is on. I would imagine a handful of snaps, maybe 2 carries, and then see ya. Thank you for playing tonight. Thank you for this first series. But I guess I'd be shocked if he didn't play.
Yeah, I think he is going to play.
But if you're
But
listening to this Wednesday, you'll have a better idea of actually who is playing based on what we see at practice tomorrow.
yeah, they're splitting up practice so that, players like Caleb Williams and the starters are going to still have a practice. So they're not wasting the day. The players who are going to play in the game, they're going to have more of like a walkthrough like you would normally have before the day before a game and kind of walk through some of the stuff that they're going to run. Not that it's going to be all that complicated. Flus admitted that today. It's a Hall of Fame game. I'm just saying they're starting to if you are going to start sitting like 2 or 3 of the running backs, I mean, I think we all think DeAndre Swift, Khalil Herbert, Roshan Johnson. I mean, these are pieces that are going to be relied on a lot.
DeAndre Swift's not playing. No way.
I mean, maybe you're just going to get 30 carries for Demetric Felton, who showed up here, 3 days ago. I don't know how much he even knows the offense.
Well, here's the crazy thing. I know they're football players, but tomorrow, Wednesday's practice is the 4th day of hitting. Just the 4th. So again, to the point of not playing Caleb Williams, like he wouldn't have a live practice tomorrow if he's playing in Thursday's game. So the players protecting him would have had 3 days only of padded practices.
Yeah.
That is not nearly enough. That is organizational malpractice if you're going to put your franchise quarterback behind that.
Which is why I never expected them to play. Like when we found out that they weren't going to have pads for a week from report day, it was exactly 1 week to when they first put the pads on. I was like, that's just not enough days.
It never is. That's why teams don't play their starters in this game.
Yeah.
Like guys like Matt Pryor, veterans, reserve tackle, reserve guard. Like he's gonna play in this game, but I don't think it's to be for a lot because you have all these other younger offensive linemen to evaluate.
Right. Yeah. All right. Who are some of the other guys you want to see or you're wondering about Thursday night?
I'm going to give you a couple names because obviously Tyson Bagent needs some players to throw to. How about Velus Jones Jr.?
Yep.
Starting with the kickoff returns.
Mm-hmm.
Tyler Scott. I think he's had a good camp. If he plays, I think his snaps will be limited, but it'll be good action for him. And then you got like Colin Johnson, who's also he's had some impressive moments, including today at Hal's home.
I agree. Number 80 has been standing out a little bit, not just because he's really tall. That's another reason why I should have thought of that. Khalil Herbert, that's another reason why I would expect him to play. He's a kick returner for you, too. In fact, he might end up being the kick returner next to Velus Jones. And I think those guys will get, as many reps as possible that they could possibly have, in this game. That's always an unknown. You have no idea how many opportunities and special teams you're actually going to be able to get. But all eyes are going to be on this kickoff Thursday night as well.
How about Tory Taylor?
Mm-hmm.
May not get the full game, but he'll have a couple kicks, a couple punts, I should say.
Yeah, don't forget the Bears have a backup punter and a backup long snapper on this roster. So, but you want to get the live. You want to get the repetition. You have a new battery, right? You have your long snapper and your kicker are the same, but Tory Taylor going in there as the holder is new. So you want to get all that stuff. And by the way, another guy I'm not panicked at all about, but we've seen Cairo Santos be slightly shaky at moments in training camp so far. So that's another reason if they do get an opportunity.
Including inside the Walter Payton Center, where if they don't have that curtain where it's got the so inside the Walter Payton Center, they have a curtain instead of goalposts. And if it was a real goalpost, we would have gotten a loud clang off the left upright the other day.
Yeah, a picture for people who haven't been in there.
A doink.
It's like a big curtain that comes across with the goalpost painted on them. Now there's also a bullseye on there, and he hit the bullseye on the first one yesterday. So we should give him credit for that. And then he hit the fake upright on the second one.
Doink.
I still think that they should have the skinny uprights that they, have installed on one of the fields at House Hall. That should be a real thing that's always on there, and you get 4 points if you make it through the skinny uprights. However, it's risky because it gives you 2 extra post uprights to hit to clank off.
Well, those skinny uprights are still there from Matt Nagy's also famous kicking competition.
Yeah.
Can I give you a name for everybody?
Yeah, I'm gonna. You're gonna be surprised who I give credit to though for naming this guy first. But go ahead.
Reddy Stewart,
Mm-hmm.
defensive back number 46.
First person I heard bring up this name was Greg Braggs Jr.
Oh. Why?
He saw him at practice over the weekend and was impressed.
He's been playing with the starters.
Yeah, but this was before that. I think it was the day after that he got thrown in there as number 1 nickel at times.
If his being impressed feelings start before his interception the other day, I'll give him credit for that.
Yeah.
Because I think everybody started to notice him, including the Chicago Bears when he made that interception.
Well, I think that's the day Braggs noticed him.
Okay, then we all noticed.
We're all losing track of days here, but you could check the tape. It's all on CHGO. But we had a show over the weekend, and
I love your Braggs.
We're doing our best and worst, and I was not expecting him to lead the show with Reddy Stewart, but he
now
did.
He's playing with the ones.
I know. So wait, is he a starter? Is he not playing Thursday?
No, he's going to play.
Yeah, I know.
He has.
Kyler Gordon's the starter.
So Kyler Gordon's the starter, nickelback. Greg Stroman Jr. has been playing there. Had been playing there in his place for a while until Reddy Stewart started making plays on the ball.
Rookie out of Troy, undrafted free agent, 5'11", 178. That's
good.
So that's the guy on defense right now who I think is turning some heads and is somebody you should pay attention to. So in the game, he's wearing number 46. On offense, I know people chuckled today when it seemed like Matt Eberflus had one of those moments where he's just kind of searching his own brain to name any player off the top of his head, and he mentions Bill Murray, number 60. But, Johns, I'm going to say, I think that's because Bill Murray's actually been having a decent camp. And if you've been watching him on one-on-ones, O-line, D-line one-on-ones, he pancaked Andrew Billings the other day. And I want to tell you, I kind of sized up Bill Murray in practice the other day. He's 6'4", 307 pounds. In person, he seemed like smaller than that to me. I mean, certainly listed there as a guard. You can live with that. Of course, Andrew Billings is 311 pounds and not quite as tall, but it was an impressive moment, and perhaps more notable, when Tevin Jenkins missed a couple snaps the other day, Bill Murray came in there at left guard. So kind of like with Reddy Stewart, all of a sudden, getting a small opportunity, that's the stuff that really matters. You start to pay attention to.
Yeah, you have to take note.
Yeah, but then the head coach just names him off the top of his head today. I mean, I don't think that's not nothing to me.
I don't know why I'm thinking of this, but this kind of reminds me of previous camp superstars who eventually were talked about and then made the team. Let's go back to Bryce Callahan.
Mm-hmm.
Tanner Gentry. I know he went back and forth with the practice squad, but he was on the roster. He was at Hallis Hall for 3 years. Remember Zach Minter going all the way back to the Phil Emery years.
That's a big one.
A guy who started rotating with the ones a little bit. Didn't last long, but these are the stories you like. This is what training camp's all about.
Now, Bill Murray, first of all, it would be perfect. Bears obviously had an offensive lineman named Bill Murray. But beyond that, he's been with the Patriots the last few years. Originally came out of William & Mary in 2020. He's been on the practice squad and now getting an opportunity with the Bears. So if you're looking for reasons to doubt the Bill Murray hype, I mean, it is kind of rare to have a guy just sort of exist in the league for 3 to 4 years on a practice squad and then show up out of nowhere, in year 4 or 5, whatever it is. But we're not talking about this guy necessarily, becoming an all-pro. Just does he have a chance to make the roster? And if we're going to have a preseason game in Canton where the starters aren't playing, these are the types of guys we're just telling you to keep your eye on. So number 60 on offense, Bill Murray.
Reddy Stewart is 46.
That's right. That's right. Otherwise, if you're watching this game on television, it is the Monday Night Football crew. I believe Troy Buck and Troy Buck. I just combined the two players. Joe Buck, the two broadcasters, I should say. Troy Aikman was a player. Wow, we're struggling here. Third show of the night. It's 9:20 in the evening. Obviously, Joe Buck and Troy Aikman. You're in your A crew. Hall of Fame stuff. You always get the Hall of Famers involved. Devin Hester, I'm sure, will be introduced at some point. It'll be interesting to see how they tie in the Mongo story. By the way, great job by you with your story, talking to Jared Payton, who will be presenting Steve Mongo McMichael. And for those asking, if you haven't heard, Mongo will not be there this weekend. But I'm sure the Hall of Fame, and I'm thinking on this broadcast, they'll have some pretty moving features, storylines, whatever, involving these guys. So there's plenty of reasons to watch this game Thursday night is the point.
New kickoff rule, honestly, is like number one for me.
Yeah.
It's the first play of the game.
Look at you getting excited about special teams.
Yeah. It's different. I actually hope the Bears, if you win the coin toss, receive. Don't defer.
Yeah.
Let's see what Richard Hightower has going.
Yeah. Let's see Velus Jones return one for a touchdown right away in front of Devin Hester. How cool will that be?
It writes itself.
Now, I think Devin
makes
Hester,
for an easy night for Adam Jahns. Now we're talking.
Now, if we're doing this Hall of Fame game right, Devin Hester should actually have to go out there and return the opening kickoff just to kick this thing off the right way. Pun intended. New rule. Devin Hester takes it back for the last touchdown of his career. I love it. That would be great.
How many, because you and I have been taking careful notes on who's playing in on kickoff returns. How many of that first team, I'm not going to list them all right now, do you think we see Thursday night? 6 out of the 11? 7 out of the 11?
That's a good question, because if you do have some guys like a Jack Sanborn, for instance.
Like, he shouldn't play in this game.
No, but if you want to get these guys the reps they need at kickoff or on kick return with this new rule, do you consider dressing them just for that? And that could affect guys like Roshan Johnson as well. Trying to think of another good example. In Kari Blasingame.
So that's maybe you may see all of them dress.
Just for kickoffs and kick returns.
Just for kickoffs.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. Wish I had thought of that earlier today when we were talking to the head coach, quite frankly. Again, we should be able to see a lot of this in practice on Wednesday because they're doing the split practices. Good question by you. We should have asked it.
We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens. Just the preseason. I remember taking notes during one game during the Mark Trestman era about players who were removed early from like the game. Oh, they're making the roster. Like, you know, you're literally marking them off. And then like 5 of those guys were cut.
I do remember that.
Right.
You got to be careful with that because a lot of times that is true. And then I do remember there's been a couple of years where you're just like, wait a minute. I think there was one a couple of years ago under Nagy where they didn't play a guy in the last game at all. Like he didn't even dress. And you're like, oh, that guy made the team. Oh, no, the next day he was cut. So it doesn't always, certainly not the first preseason game, but we will get some clues on some of this stuff. Well, hope you enjoy the game. Hope you enjoy all the Hall of Fame festivities. We are going to do a podcast Friday morning, I believe. I know, John, you're going to be on your way back, but I think we'll try to wrap things up, whatever's important for you on Friday morning. And, you know, I'm looking forward to some of the Hall of Fame stuff over the weekend. The Bears go back to practice in Lake Forest on Saturday. They're going to be
10:35.
practicing during the Hall of Fame induction. So we have to kind of juggle all that over the weekend. But training camps plugging away here. It's only July 30th.
It's not even August.
That's a whole
Not even
game.
August.
It really throws you off. We got a lot of time still between the first game, so no one should be panicking. Not only about Caleb not playing in this first game, but also,
About anything.
the results of what happens Thursday night. However, you should panic about the ball not being thrown in the bucket today.
No, because Caleb Williams was making the bucket.
I feel bad because I'm forgetting that comedian's name that they had him in the schedule release video this year. He was at practice and he was standing like on the platform by where like in front of the ADA seating, and he was right in line between like behind, so where the quarterbacks are throwing at that net, he was basically on a platform right behind it, and on every throw he was like trying to get them to throw the ball to him. And I just thought it would have been so funny if Caleb just launched one to him in the stands.
Yeah.
Should have done it. Missed out.
And he dropped it.
Yeah, and he dropped it. Exactly. Nice catch by one of the members of the Hard Knocks crew, by the way, because one of those passes doinked off the railing of this net structure thing and went straight up in the air. And one of the cameramen who was holding his camera in one arm caught the ball in the other.
They better make the cut.
One of the top plays. Yeah, they always show bloopers at the end of Hard Knocks, all the episodes. That should be in the bloopers.
Oh, quickly. Hey, the Hard Knocks trailer came out.
That was cool. What'd you think?
My first thought was there was a lot of old stuff.
Yeah.
But you got to play it up. I get it. I understand it. Maybe it's just because I live and work in Chicago. I've seen all of those clips 1,000 times. But I understand it for the national audience.
I was going to say, because I look, I'm definitely one of those people that's like, all right, enough of the past. It's been 30 years of not being good, right? Like, can we get in a new era? However, I have to say the editing for how that was done. I mean, if you didn't get goosebumps watching the trailer, there's something wrong with you, because it was really cool. Mixing all the old stuff with, then it flashes to drafting Caleb. It was well done.
Okay.
All right. We're out of here.
We'll talk to you after the Hall of Fame game.
Yeah, Bears Texans, the only game on the schedule this week. It is still Bears football. It should be fun. We'll come back after the game. Make sure you're following us on Twitter at Adam Hoge. Make sure you're following Johnsy for all his coverage from Canton. Should also mention on CHGO, we will have pre and post game action for you on Thursday. Matt Forte is going to join us on the pregame show.
Oh,
so we got a lot of coverage for you coming on CHGO. Check all that out, and we're gonna have a lot of fun on Thursday. Just we gotta get our preseason reps in too. They're not sitting the starters on CHGO.
I'm gonna drop it in the bucket Thursday night.
I am, however, the starters are sitting against the Bills. I am sitting out the Bills game because I have a wedding. Just warning you now. All right, we're out of here. We'll talk to you Friday morning. Enjoy the game.
See ya.